He's been staring at you for 10 minutes, without blinking, without moving, without making a single noise. You try to continue what you were doing, answering messages, pretending to read, fiddling with your cell phone to fill the void, but his gaze cuts through all of that. It cuts through your hurry, it cuts through your anxiety, it even cuts through the lies you tell yourself about being okay, and you start to feel uncomfortable, not because he judges you, but because he simply sees. Seneca spent hours observing how silence reveals more about a person than all the words they could utter. He realized that when someone stops talking, stops moving, stops creating noise, something deep emerges, something that is normally hidden beneath layers of distraction and constant movement. Philosophy promises nothing to the external man, otherwise it would be admitting something that lies outside its proper material, he wrote. And maybe that's why the cat doesn't offer you consolation, doesn't distract you, doesn't try to solve anything. He just watches, as if he knew that the only true philosophy happens when you stop running away from yourself. And he, with that silent and penetrating presence, forces you to stay exactly where you don't want to be, alone with who you really are. His gaze is not accusation, it's revelation. He's not judging you for being anxious, lost, or faking a calmness you don't feel. He's simply present, witnessing, absorbing the real frequency you emit when no one is watching. Except he is watching. And maybe that's exactly what bothers you. What does he see that you don't yet have the courage to face? There's something disturbing about being observed without being judged, because when someone judges you, you can defend yourself. You can explain. You can justify. You can create an edited version of yourself and present it as truth. But when someone just observes, there is no possible defense. There is no narrative to be built. There is only you exactly as you are being seen. And the cat does that better than any human. Seneca deeply understood the transformative power of conscious silence. When I find a man in a panic, I ask myself, what is he fighting within himself? That was the question the Roman philosopher asked in the face of any human unease. Not why is he agitated, but against what inner force is he resisting? And when the cat stares at you for hours, maybe that's exactly what's happening. He detects the internal struggle, he feels the resistance, he perceives the silent conflict between who you pretend to be and who you really are. That's why you feel uncomfortable, because in his presence, there's no way to pretend. There's no way to speed up the pace to escape your own thoughts. There's no way to create enough noise to drown out the internal voice you'd rather not hear. He simply stays there, forcing you to stay too. Remember the last time you managed to stay in complete silence for more than 5 minutes? Without music, without television, without cell phone, without anything that filled the void? Remember the feeling? That subtle despair that starts to rise? That urgent need to do something, anything. So you don't have to face your own thoughts. The cat puts you in that state, but differently because he's there with you. He doesn't leave you alone with the silence. He shares the silence with you. And maybe that's what makes the experience both disturbing and strangely comforting. Seneca discovered that there is a fundamental difference between being alone and being with yourself. Being alone is loneliness. Being with yourself is encounter. And the cat, with that silent and attentive presence, teaches you the difference. When he watches you, you are not alone. You are being accompanied in the process of finding yourself. And that's scary because it means that maybe you've spent too much time avoiding that encounter. Too much time filling the empty spaces with noise so you don't have to hear what your soul is really trying to tell you. He doesn't judge you for that. He just witnesses, as if he were a silent guardian of your inner journey. Someone who is there to ensure that you don't run away from yourself once again. And maybe that's why his gaze is so penetrating. Not because he's seeing your flaws, but because he's seeing your truth. The truth that you hide even from yourself. The truth about your real loneliness, about your unhealed wounds, about the fears you carry in silence, about the sadness you disguise as busyness, about the anxiety you mask as productivity. He sees all of that, and doesn't run away, doesn't move away, doesn't abandon you. He just stays, as if saying without words, I know who you are, and it's okay. And maybe it's precisely this unconditional acceptance that destabilizes you, because you've spent so much time believing that you needed to hide, protect yourself, defend yourself, that when someone sees you completely and still remains, you don't know how to react. Seneca would call this therapeutic silence, the kind of quiet that doesn't avoid the truth but reveals it, the kind of presence that doesn't distract from the pain but accompanies it. And the cat, without knowing Stoic philosophy, practices this wisdom instinctively. He watches you because he feels you, and he feels you because he's not afraid of your intensity. Do you remember the first time you realized he was watching you like that? You were going through that phase, the one you never mention when someone asks how you are. Sleeping badly, eating badly, pretending that everything was under control while internally everything seemed to be slowly collapsing. And then, on one of those particularly difficult days, you noticed he was there, quiet, just looking. At first, you thought it was strange, maybe even uncomfortable. Cats are known for their independence, for coming and going as they please. But he stayed, as if he had detected something in you that even you hadn't noticed yet. Seneca wrote in his letters to Lucilius, "We must withdraw into ourselves. Solitude will show you how lacking you are." And maybe that's exactly what the cat realized at that moment. Not your strength, not your ability to handle everything alone, but your lack. Your deep need to be seen, truly seen, by someone. Because there's a difference between being noticed and being seen. People notice you all the time. They notice that you arrived, that you spoke, that you did something. But seeing is different. Seeing is perceiving what is behind the actions. Seeing is feeling the real vibration you emit when you stop performing. And animals see. They can't do anything else. During those difficult days, how many people asked how you were? And how many really wanted to know? How many expected you to answer something other than "I'm fine" or "everything's okay"? How many would have endured hearing the truth about what you were really feeling? But the cat didn't ask anything. He just stayed. Remember that afternoon when you were sitting on the couch, lost in thoughts that you preferred not to share with anyone? He appeared, not to be petted, not to play, not to ask for food, just to position himself in a place where he could observe you clearly. And he stayed there, for hours, as if he were a monk in meditation, as if your internal turmoil were a fascinating object of study, as if he understood that sometimes the greatest help someone can offer is simply being present while the other person processes what needs to be processed. Seneca practiced something similar. He had the habit of observing people in silence before offering any advice. Before healing a wound, it is necessary to see it clearly, he said. And maybe that's what the cat was doing, not trying to heal anything, but clearly seeing what needed to be seen. Do you remember how you felt being observed like that? That strange mixture of discomfort and relief. Discomfort because there was nowhere to hide. Relief because finally someone was really present, not trying to solve, not offering empty solutions, not changing the subject when the silence became too heavy, just there. And then something started to change. Not immediately, not dramatically, but little by little you started to feel less alone. Not because he kept you company in the traditional sense, but because he kept you company in silence. He taught you that it was possible to be at peace, even when everything inside you was in turmoil. The Roman philosopher understood that wisdom is born when we stop running away from ourselves. And the cat, without knowing Seneca, applied this principle instinctively. He didn't let you run away, not through force, but through constant and silent presence, as if saying, you can be agitated, you can be sad, you can be lost, but you don't have to be alone in this. And maybe that's when you started to understand what Seneca called conscious silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of full presence. The silence of someone who is completely available to witness what needs to be witnessed. He watched you because he felt you, and he felt you because he wasn't afraid of your intensity. Seneca taught that there is a fundamental difference between hearing and listening, between seeing and observing, between being present and really being there. Nothing for those who know how to listen is completely lost, he wrote, and the cat, through that penetrating and silent gaze, teaches you exactly that, how to be completely present for what is happening inside you. Because that's what he does, isn't it? He doesn't try to interpret your emotions. He doesn't try to solve your problems. He doesn't offer unsolicited advice. He simply witnesses with a quality of attention that few humans can offer. And that pure attention, without agenda, without judgment, without hurry for you to get better or overcome something, is deeply transformative. Because when you are truly seen, not analyzed, not diagnosed, but simply seen, something inside you relaxes. The need to defend yourself diminishes. The urgency to explain or justify dissolves. And in the space that opens up, you can finally be. Seneca discovered this in his own periods of seclusion and contemplation. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the quality of the company we offer ourselves, he realized. And the cat teaches you this same lesson through his own presence. He shows you that it is possible to accompany someone without trying to change them, that it is possible to offer support without offering solutions, that it is possible to love without trying to correct. And maybe that's what impresses you most about his behavior. The ability to remain calm while you are agitated, to remain serene while you are in turmoil, to remain centered while you are lost. Not because he doesn't care, but because he understands something that you are still learning, that internal storms pass, that agitation is temporary, that beneath all the anxiety and confusion, there is a core of peace that has never really been shaken. And he watches you as if he could see that core, as if he weren't fooled by the turbulence of the surface, as if he knew a version of you that you yourself forgot exists. The wise man never loses his composure because he knows the temporary nature of all disturbances, Seneca taught. And the cat applies this wisdom instinctively. He doesn't let himself be affected by your anxiety because he recognizes that it is not permanent. It's not you. It's just something you're experiencing at the moment. That's why his gaze is so stable, so constant, so confident. He trusts the process. He trusts your ability to find balance. He trusts the natural wisdom that exists within you, even when you don't trust yourself. And that silent confidence, expressed through a simple look, has an immense transformative power. Because when someone believes in you, not in the idealized version of you, but in who you really are, including your wounds and imperfections, you start to believe in yourself differently. Seneca called this fides, a deep trust in the natural order of things, the belief that everything that happens has a purpose, even when we can't see what it is. And the cat, through that firm and calm gaze, transmits exactly that confidence to you, as if saying, I see you struggling, I see you suffering, I see you lost, and I know you will find the way, not because he is sure of the future, but because he is sure of you. And maybe that's what you needed to hear most, or rather, feel at that moment. Not empty words of encouragement. Not promises that everything will be okay, but the firm and constant presence of someone who is not in a hurry for you to be different from what you are. The conscious silence that Seneca so valued is not the absence of communication. It is communication through pure presence. It is saying everything without saying anything. And the cat masters this language like few others. He still watches you, maybe not with the same intensity as those first days, but still with that peculiar quality of attention that makes you feel truly seen. And you realize that something has changed, not in him, but in you. Now, when he stares at you like that, you no longer feel uncomfortable. You no longer feel the urgent need to move, to create distraction, to escape your own silence. You have learned to stay. You have learned to be observed. You have learned to observe yourself. Seneca would say that this is the greatest achievement of any philosophical journey, to reach the point where you can be alone with yourself without despair. And the cat, through that patient and constant gaze, taught you exactly that. He taught you that there is nothing in you that needs to be hidden, that your wounds are not a reason for shame, that your confusion is not a sign of weakness, that your humanity, with all its imperfections and contradictions, is worthy of being seen and accepted. Not through words, of course. Cats don't talk, but through something much more powerful, unconditional presence. Because when someone remains by your side while you go through your most difficult moments, when someone observes you without judgment while you fight against your own demons, when someone offers their silent company while you process pains that even you don't fully understand, that person or that animal is teaching you something fundamental about love. That loving is not agreeing, it's not approving, it's not trying to fix. Loving is staying, it's seeing, it's witnessing. And maybe that's why his silence was never empty. It was always full of acceptance, of patience, of an ancient wisdom that doesn't need to be explained to be felt. Time heals wounds that reason cannot reach, Seneca wrote. And the cat, through his own constant presence, taught you that sometimes healing doesn't come through words or actions, but through the simple act of not being alone in the process. He didn't try to speed up your healing. He didn't offer quick solutions. He didn't try to convince you that everything was okay when clearly it wasn't. He just stayed, watching, witnessing, accompanying, like a Stoic philosopher in animal form, teaching through example what it truly means to be present for someone. And now when you look at him, you see not just a cat, you see a master, someone who taught you one of the deepest lessons someone can learn, that it is possible to go through the most difficult moments of life without being completely alone. That there is a form of companionship that doesn't depend on words, on solutions, or on answers. A companionship that exists simply through conscious and loving presence. He watched you for hours because he knew you needed to be seen, not analyzed, not diagnosed, not corrected, just seen. And in the process of being truly seen by him, you learned to see yourself with more compassion too. His silence was not absence, it was presence in its purest form. And maybe that's what Seneca meant when he spoke about conscious silence, not the lack of sound, but the abundance of presence. Not the emptiness of loneliness, but the fullness of being completely available for what is happening in the moment. He didn't say anything, but he said everything. Like this video, if you've ever been observed like that, with that silent intensity that reveals more than any conversation. Comment if you recognize that look and what it taught you about being present. And share with those who need to know that sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from those who never utter a word. Because in the end, the best teachers are those who teach through silence.